Hey friend, are you constantly feeling like you're falling short, even when you're giving it your absolute best? In this video, we're going to get honest about the pressures that we experience in motherhood. I'll walk you through why that pressure is so harmful, and I'll share 3 practical and simple ways to shift your mindset, to find more peace, and to just let go of the unrealistic standards that we're all tired of chasing. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Motherhood Reset. This is a short 14-day mini-series where we explore the invisible weights that we carry in motherhood. Today is day 8, and we are talking about something so many of us wrestle with quietly, and that is the perfection trap. This builds on what we talked about in the last video, where we talked about the comparisons that we often have. And we unpacked how easy it is to compare ourselves to the polished version of motherhood we often see outside social media or in our inner circles. And we forget that we're only seeing what I like to call the highlight reel, right? So we don't see the tantrums that go on behind the scenes. We don't see the pile of dishes just outside of the picture perfect frame. And that's what makes perfectionism so toxic, because we're chasing an image that was really never real to begin with, right? It's not just unrealistic, it's exhausting, and it keeps us anxious, it keeps us constantly second guessing ourselves, and it just robs us of any ability to enjoy what life we have in front of us, right? So in today's video, I want to invite you into a different approach. Not one that lowers your standards by any means, but one that maybe shifts your mindset, shifts your focus towards what really matters. So instead of chasing the impossible, let's talk about what is possible, what you can do to feel more grounded in motherhood. Here are 3 simple and meaningful mindset shifts that can help you step out of that perfection trap. So let's start with the first one. Start noticing the small wins. So every day, write down, or you can even think about it. I use an app on my phone. Write down 1 or 2 small wins, okay? This could be something as simple as, today I sat down with my kid for 10 minutes or even 5 minutes and I played with them, right? Or today I took a deep breath instead of snapping at my child. Or maybe today I took 5 minutes to stretch and move my body. These are small things, but it's important to do, because when we're stuck in perfectionism, we tend to focus on only what's missing, right? And this habit, this simple writing out or just thinking about, 1 or 2 small wins, it retrains your brain to notice what's working. And it starts to rewire your self-perception about yourself, or your perception about yourself. So another way to explain it is when, for example, when we get caught in like that perfection trap, right, in perfectionism, it's like our brains develop tunnel vision and we only see what is wrong. And this is called the negativity bias, which means that we naturally tend to focus more on like our inadequacies or the inadequacies of others. So it's like the mess we didn't clean, the moments we lost our patience, the things we forgot, the things we didn't forget. It's almost like our minds are trained to scan or to search for these inadequacies and ignore everything else that actually went well. But like this noticing and acknowledging of the 2 small wins that you did do, it disrupts that negativity bias that so many of us get stuck in. And when you start looking for small wins, you're kind of shifting yourself out of self-judgment and into self-acknowledgement. And finally, when you make it a habit to notice small wins, even tiny ones, right? Like calming yourself down before reacting, or taking a breath before bedtime chaos, you're slowly training your brain to see the good. And over time, this starts to shift how you see yourself, not because you're suddenly pretending everything is perfect, not at all. Your life can still be chaotic, right? You're not putting on rose-colored glasses. You're still seeing the same life through the same glasses. It's the same motherhood, is the same daily chaos. You're just finally noticing the good that was always there too. It's like adjusting the focus on a camera. The background is still there, but now everything in the background is just a little bit more sharper, a bit more clearer. So practical tip number 2, start noticing the things that make you a little different and celebrate those things instead of hiding them. Maybe you are silly and goofy with your kids and make silly faces. Maybe you stay calm in the chaos. That's a huge strength. Maybe your strength is making ordinary things fun. Maybe you go out on a walk and you see like dried leaves on the ground, and I don't know, you see like little faces in them, and then you take them home and you just like assemble them into like a picture, right? Like all these amazing creative ideas. Or maybe you're a mom who's just great at listening, or the mom who reads like the most amazing stories, and like every time she reads a story, she has like 6 different voices, and it's just so engaging and so interactive. Whatever you think is, honor that, and you have it. I know you have it. Everybody has something not necessarily like creative, but everybody has something unique. So why does this matter? This matters because perfectionism tries to convince us that there's only one right way to be a good mom, right? And spoiler, it usually looks like someone else's way, not yours. The pressure to be perfect often starts with just trying to imitate what we think works good for other people. But the chase makes us kind of lose ourselves in the process, right? It's kind of like forcing a puzzle piece into a puzzle and it just won't fit. Like you end up feeling like there's something wrong and something wrong with you, not like with a puzzle, but like in this case, something wrong with you, right? But when you pause and when you ask, what do I bring to this, right? What do I have to give? Like, what are small wins that I have? You're breaking that cycle. You're shifting your attention inward, right? Before your attention was outward on comparing yourself to somebody else, but now you're bringing it inward. And instead of measuring yourself by somebody else's standard or by somebody else's picture, you now begin building a deeper kind of confidence. Not loud or like showy confidence, but the quiet kind that's rooted in, self-trust, like you're trusting yourself. And the shift can finally help you to get out of that mold, the one that wasn't made for you. And instead, you finally feel more comfortable in your own skin, in the body that you actually have as the mom you actually are. So practical tip number 3 is trade harsh self-talk for honest self-compassion. So start paying attention to the way that you speak to yourself. I mentioned something about this in a previous video, but it's such an important mindset that I feel that I'm gonna always come back to it every now and then, because I think it's so important the way that we talk to ourselves. So start noticing how you do it, especially in the hard moments. When you mess up, when you forget something, when you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask, if a friend was in this situation, what would I say to her? And then say that to yourself. Right? This is so important because perfectionism feeds on criticism, and it thrives in an environment or in our mind where every mistake becomes like a character flaw. And when we consistently and constantly criticize ourselves, we stop feeling safe in our own skin, in our own minds. It starts feeling like there's no room for growth because we're just too busy beating ourselves up for not, being perfect. And when you start practicing that honest self-compassion, not like sugarcoating, not toxic positivity, not pretending, but when you're meeting yourself with grace and truth, you create a space where growth is actually possible. You're not saying that wasn't a big deal. You're saying, yes, that was a big deal and that was hard, but I learned something from it. I'm still worthy of kindness to myself. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. And this small and simple mindset shift, yes, it sounds small, but sometimes it's really hard to do. But this mindset shift will help you recover faster, and it will help you, be a more peaceful mom and connect with your kids more deeply on a deeper level and be a more patient partner to your partner, right? Because when you feel safe in your own mind, when you feel better in your own skin, you're less likely to parent from shame, you're less likely to snap, you're less likely to feel overwhelmed, and you're more likely to respond with patience and presence. So the next time your inner critic gets loud, okay, try replacing her voice with the one that you use for the people you love. Your kids, your friends, your partner. Be gentle, be honest, be kind. That's the voice that you deserve to hear too. And finally, look, letting go of perfection isn't about giving up or settling, okay? It's not about lowering your standards. It's about choosing a different way of life, one that's kinder to your heart and just more true to your life. You don't have to be perfect to be enough. You don't have to, have it all together to be a good mom. What matters most is showing up with as much grace for yourself as you offer your children. So when the pressure rises and that, perfection trap creeps up again, remind yourself, what small wins can I celebrate today? And what parts of me am I honoring? And how do I speak to myself when things are hard? And just remember, you may be imperfect, but you are enough exactly as you are. You don't have to be flawless to make a difference. Your courage to show up day after day, messy moments and everything, that's what truly shapes your family story. So keep going, keep breathing, keep believing in the incredible mom that you already are, because imperfectly you is exactly who you were meant to be.